What's up, guys? All right, so I just got in the brand new Glock performance trigger. This trigger's like $100. Pretty much comes straight drop in. Again, YouTube, I just want to go ahead and throw this out here. I'm not modifying this pistol, just upgrades. This is a factory Glock part. But this is a Glock 17. Right now it has a Fowler trigger in it, but it's not a like a trigger, it's just the bar. But I want to show you, we'll show you right here what it looks like. There's your take up, pretty much a little squishy. Don't really hit a defended wall with this trigger. Reset isn't real short, and there it is again. But let's take a look at what the trigger pull weight is. This should be just stock, because like I said, this doesn't affect anything as far as the pull or anything like that. So let's just see what this one is. It's just a flat face, if I can even keep this thing on there straight. I got 4.19, so that was a little bit towards the bottom. Let's see if we can get it in the middle and keep it there. 4.89. We'll do one more just for S&Gs. 5.53. That was more in the middle. So you're probably looking somewhere between 5 and 5.5 pounds ish on a stock Glock trigger. So let's open this performance trigger. This is what it will come in right here. And we'll see what you get in the package. Now, I am going to take this and do a review shooting it to see what it feels like. And I may actually put this in a Glock 19, but I'm going to initially start it out with this. And the only reason I say it's 19, or maybe I'll put this trigger in my Gen 5 19 and put this trigger in my go-to Glock here. But when it comes in, it'll have a little rubber band holding everything together. But it's, like I said before, it's just a straight drop-in trigger. And I think it comes with some instructions on how to lube it before you install it. This isn't going to be an install video. There's plenty of those videos out here. This is just a review of how it feels in the gun and kind of how it feels next to a factory trigger. All right, let me go get this thing installed, get it lubed up. And we'll do the same test on this that we just did on this. One more time. Here is your trigger pull, kind of smushy. Hit that wall a little bit. There's your reset. All right, let's go install it. Okay, guys, I've not, dry fired or anything like that. I waited till actually in this video, but you can see the trigger is actually a little bit bigger and chunkier than just a stock Glock trigger. Let's check this out. It's a little bit gritty right there. I did oil it. You kind of hit a wall. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Let's check out the reset. The reset ain't the shortest reset. It's probably about on par. That is nuts. All right, let's see. I can't wait to actually take this and shoot it. It's more of a flat face trigger too. Let's see what we got. 3.6. God, that thing feels good. I did not expect that. 3.11, and that was in the center. Let's do one more. And it ain't broke in. This is the first time it's being pulled. 3.13. Every single one of those was below 3. That is incredible. The reset could be a little shorter. I feel like I will outrun that until I get used to it. But I think this will probably work its way out, but it feels like it's like dragging a little bit. I don't know. It just feels like it's dragging. And one thing I also notice is the trigger comes back forward. Most Glocks, when you fire them, the trigger stays to the rear of the gun when you dry fire it. But this one, you can plainly see that it kind of resets itself back out. That is incredible. All right, so let's take it to the range, see what we think about it when we actually do some actual range time and some firing with it. But just dry firing it, that feels way better than a factory Glock trigger that just comes in the gun. That is incredible. That, I am way surprised. For $100, which is what this trigger cost, I think it's probably a lot better option than a lot of the triggers on the market, because it is stupid light and it feels really good. I honestly, it feels like it does have a little drag. I ain't gonna lie, just doing it like this without firing it, feels like there's some drag. But when you dry fire it, you don't feel that. I can't wait to get to the range. So let's take it, put a few rounds through it, several rounds through it. One thing I like this trigger better is it is a factory trigger, so you may have a little bit better reliability. I've not had a lot of issues with aftermarket triggers, but seeing that it's a stock Glock trigger, maybe it'll give you a little bit better reliability. I'll get that out here in a minute. Or at least maybe it'll give you a little bit more fuzzy feeling in your stomach knowing you have a stock trigger versus a stock Glock trigger versus some aftermarket trigger. All right, guys, see you in a minute. All right, guys, the gnats over here are crazy today. I guess it's warm enough now that they've finally come out and they're everywhere. But we're at the range with the Glock 17 with that performance trigger. Oh my gosh. That is amazing. I've not shot it yet. I waited for the video. But we're out here. I have lubed it like crazy. It's got oil all over it, just to make sure everything's smoothed up. Again, I do feel a little drag, but I think it is so tight in the gun that might be it, so that'll probably wear down. I've actually not cleaned this gun in a long time. May have to do that later tonight. But without further ado, let's put some eyes and ears on, put about 10 rounds through it just to kind of get a feel for it, and I'll give you my first impressions of the trigger. Actually firing it, dry firing it, feels incredible, but we won't really know until we actually put some real rounds through it. We're just shooting some Blazer Brass 124 grain. So let's put about 10 rounds through it, and I will tell you my initial impression. We'll put some more rounds through it, maybe check accuracy, because if you got good fundamentals, you're gonna be accurate anyway. But if you have a light, solid trigger, it definitely doesn't hurt. So we'll check accuracy of it, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. So let me put on some eyes and ears. Let's get this started, because I'm pretty excited. Okay, guys, first shots out of the Glock Performance trigger. Like I said, somewhere around 3.5, 3.9 pounds. So let's see how she feels. All right, guys, so that feels really good, and from about 10 yards, it's a pretty good pattern. I ain't gonna lie. There's not much flinching that can be done with this. I'm not gonna take my glasses off because those gnats actually can't get to me now. But there's not much room for error with this trigger, because when you start pulling it, it really breaks, and you don't even really feel it even. You know where the wall's at, but it don't take much pressure right after you hit that wall to drop that trigger. Again, I will say this, the reset is a little bit longer than I thought it would be. I have a Glock Gen 5 19 over here. It has a factory trigger in it. This is still a Glock OEM part. But let me get that 19, and we'll just compare the triggers real quick, and we'll just see how good they are compared to each other, how good this one is compared to that one. All right, guys, again, regular old Gen 5 bone stock Glock 19. Here's your take up right here. Let me throw this in the holster. Here's your take up right here. This actually feels about the same as that one does. Maybe it's just I've not shot a Glock in a while and they just kind of feel mushy. Really, I knew they felt mushy, but it's kind of like some drag on it. You hit that wall and then it breaks. And the Gen 5 trigger is actually better than any other generation, in my opinion. This is probably about 5 pounds. Now, one thing I want to show you, that one stays to the rear. This one comes back out. I noticed that right off the bat as soon as I did that. I talked about that earlier in the video, but most Glocks, the triggers stay back. They don't actually come back forward till you reset them. But that one actually returns to like a normal position. All right, so here's your reset right there. Now, if we take this one, it feels about the same. This one might have a little bit more drag than just a normal OEM trigger that comes in the gun. You hit that wall and it breaks, and it's just incredible. No lies. Now your reset, they're probably close. They are probably very, very close to being about the same as far as reset return goes. But pulling them, no. This performance trigger is way, way better than a stock trigger. Let me load up a few more rounds. I want to put a couple more magazines through it. Then we'll do an accuracy test, and then I'll give you my final thoughts. But so far, this probably won't be my last one. Okay guys, accuracy test, we're about 10 yards, 124 grain, blazer brass. We're gonna do about 5 rounds and just see what kind of accuracy I can get with this. I'm sure the gun is way better than I am, but let's see what kind of accuracy I can get with this. Right, we only do one take here, you know. I'll walk you down here. 3 rounds went in right here, and I put 2 eyes on it. I don't know what happened right there. I think that was like the 3rd shot and the 5th shot, and the other 3 went here, here, and here. So I stacked 3 and then put the other 2. I kind of made a little nose face, I guess. That's really not too bad accuracy. I wish I could have stacked them other 2 in a little better, but what I want to do now is push this thing back out to about 45 yards, and let's shoot some steel and see how many times we can hit that steel with it at about, like I said, about 42, 45 yards. All right guys, we're at about 42 yards-ish, because where I was staying at had a big hole, so I had to move in a yard or 2. So we're about 42 yards. That piece of steel is actually smaller than a torso, and same ammo, blazer brass, 124. We've got 10 rounds. Let's see how many times we can hit that. Every time. That's how many. This trigger is only getting better. I put about 50 rounds through it, on and off camera, give or take, and I'm really starting to get the feel for it, and it feels really, really good. So let me take you up here and give you my final thoughts. All right guys, I know that was only 50 rounds, and that's not a lot, and I will continue to test this trigger, and I'll continue to use this because this is my go-to pistol in a, crap hit the fan situation. So I will continue to test this, but right now out of 50 rounds, 0 malfunctions. The trigger is great. I mean, great. It's well worth the $100 in my opinion, because a lot of times you'll spend $150 unlike the Fowler Industries trigger, and all you get is the trigger shoe and a bar. So this is cheaper than that, and you get the whole drop-in setup, and in my opinion, it's way better because the Fowler doesn't help your trigger pull at all. It doesn't drop it or anything. It just gives you more of a flat face trigger pull and maybe a little bit better reset. But this actually drops it by like 1.5 pounds-ish. Because like I said, I was getting as low as I think it was 2. Y'all seen the video earlier. And then like a 3.6 or 7 and like a 3.13. But the 3.13 slid way up. But in the middle, it was about 3.7, I think. So a little over 3.5 pounds. And I like a trigger around that range. 4 pounds, 3.5 to 4 pounds is really my sweet spot on where I like triggers. And this really meets that. Now, what do I think about this? You all heard how much I've raved about it so far. It does look a little different. I do want to show you this. When you get it, it will look, so here's your standard Glock trigger. If I can get them in there, and then here's the other one. You can tell there's like more surface area on this. It's wider. It's not as like narrow front to back as a standard trigger. But that doesn't bother me. I've heard a couple other people talk about maybe trying to put different trigger shoes on it. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it exactly the way it is. I'm going to leave it in this gun. I'm going to continue to shoot it because I love it, and this will not be my only one. I will order one for this and probably the outdated 26. Y'all, a lot of y'all didn't like that video as much. But I think this is well worth the money. If you're on the fence thinking about getting one, I recommend it. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. I know there's not a ton of videos out there on this yet, and Glock is always a little bit late to the game. But with this one, I think late was actually worth the wait. So let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer them. But for right now, this is 2 thumbs up and a must-have for your Glock, in my opinion. It's just that good. And it does still retain the little safety right there. So it's not going to actually fire if dropped or anything like that. It still retains that drop safety just like all other Glocks do. And I only think this trigger will get better with time because it will break in more and become a little bit smoother trigger. So there again, if you have any comments or questions, leave them below. I'll answer them. I appreciate y'all watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe. I love you guys. We'll see you next time.